This is Story Recapped. Today, I'm going to explain a comedy, romance, and sci-fi film called How to Talk to Girls at Parties. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. Punk rock enthusiast Enn meets with his friends Vic and John. The trio head to a party celebrating the Queen's Jubilee, where Enn asks for money from his mother, Marian. That evening, the friends crash into the local punk club, thinking how the club owner, Boudica, could get proper exposure for their fanzine. Vic and John urge Enn to talk to her. To work his way to Boudica, Enn talks to his former schoolmate, Shirley, who currently works for her. She tricks him into singing a song, and the entire bar laughs when Enn gets pitchy at the end. When the local punk band, The Discords, perform on stage, the crowd goes wild. The vocalist, Slap, approaches the agent for a record label and kisses him. Later, Boudica scolds Slap for his stunt, which ruins their chances for signing a record deal. As the friends head out for the after party, they joke about Enn's misfortune with girls. The friends soon get lost and end up in the park. Suddenly, Enn hears music, so they follow it to a house, which they assume is the location for the after party. When they knock on the door, a strange girl introduces herself as Stella, and Vic flirts with her. Stella allows them inside, where people in strange costumes carry odd objects. The trio assumes that the group is from America. Stella beckons for Vic to join her, so he happily goes upstairs. John directs Enn further inside the house, where they find people doing strange dances while a choir dressed in blue sings in the back. The scene entrances John, so Enn leaves to look for the kitchen. Instead of a kitchen, however, he keeps walking into odd rooms. Soon, he finds the girl alone, so he approaches her. The girl introduces herself as Wayne Swain and comments that she doesn't recognize him. She tells him that she's from the second colony and shows him her hand, where the middle finger is split in two. She laments that she manifested imperfectly again, but she doesn't blame her parent-teacher. Weirded out by the interaction, Enn leaves. In another room, Enn watches as people caress each other to appreciate their bodies. Fourth colony parent-teacher Waldo announces how the Queen's Jubilee forced them to change the colony's itinerary, hence why they end up in Croydon, England. Zan complains that their purpose is authentic experiences, yet they behave more like tourists who only observe and consume. Enn hides when he sees Zan storming off. In the courtroom, Zan grabs a pair of scissors to cut her dress. She notices Enn watching her, so he introduced himself. When she cuts her dress, Enn comments that it looks punk. Curious, Zan gives him the scissors and asks him to make her look more punk. Enn accidentally wounds her and gets some of her blood in his finger. Zan licks the blood and asks him more about punk. Finally, Zan realizes that Enn is a local, and only the Stella knows he's there. Zan accompanies Enn to the house's kitchen while he tells her how they collect wild tomatoes and sell them to photocopy their fanzines. Zan is stunned by their freedom. Meanwhile, Vic is excited to get intimate with Stella. After he unclothes, Stella caresses his skin, then reaches down to his behind, much to his surprise. He continues odd intimate activities with Stella, but panics as he sees another man joining them out of nowhere. At the same time, John is happily dancing with the others. In the kitchen, Enn offers Zan a beer. Waldo and the fourth colony find her, so Zan defiantly drinks the beer in front of them. Suddenly, Vic jumps in and hurriedly takes his friend away. When the boys are gone, Zan demands her right for a unique experience. Meanwhile, Vic gathers John and pulls his friend out of the house. John is still dazed by his experience, but Enn accuses Vic of doing something wrong, hence why he was in a hurry. Vic shoves him and hurries away with Enn's bike. John chases after Vic while Zan heads out of the house. She tells Enn that she can come with him to do punk. She shares that she has 48 hours of freedom, but she feels that her body is dying. Mistaking it for flirtation, Enn leans closer, but Zan vomits. She smiles, hopeful that her body may still live. Enn takes Zan home and lets her sleep on the couch. He finds his mother asleep with the TV still on, so he turns it off and puts away her liquor bottle. Enn spends the rest of the evening drawing. Enn dreams about the specimen that attempts to puncture a glowing orb. When he wakes up, he finds Zan in his old treehouse, wearing his clothes. Enn compliments her ring, and Zan tells him that it's a symbol of their colony. He shares that their fanzine is called Viris, and he created a character called Viris Boy who infects others to fight against conformity. He believes that if they're free, they'll stop being told what to do and what to consume. Enn shares that everyone's DNA has a remnant of every virus that has infected humans. Thus, adapting to survive the virus has turned bacteria into human beings. Zan knows that she'd been a bacterium but has never met a virus. Suddenly, Enn kisses her, and she kisses him back. They then return to the house when Marion walks in. When Enn tells her that Zan is American, his mother happily recounts how she was once a foot model who became a stand-in for a Hollywood actress. She plays the tape on the radio and dances to the music. Amused, Zan joins Marion in dancing. Though Enn is embarrassed by his mother, he's drawn to Zan further. Later, Marion shares that she thinks Zan is adorable. She casually adds that everyone needs someone, leading Enn to realize that his mother is dating a man he dislikes. They then argue about Enn's father, who wasn't nice to Marion but was good to his son. Enn blames Marion's nagging for driving his father into leaving them. After the argument, Marion walks in on Zan in the bathroom, then hurriedly excuses herself. Before closing the door, however, Marion stops and speaks in Waldo's voice. Waldo reminds her that Zan's journey isn't just about her, but Zan argues that she's nourishing her body with raw data to enrich their progress. When Enn enters the room, Waldo releases Marion, who leaves the bathroom. The two then spend the day eating and playing around. Enn shows her the wild tomatoes they often gather, and they happily eat them. Enn shares that his father was a jazz musician, but he didn't want to record its music and be a sellout. Enn admires how his father never settled for anything, but Zan thinks it's why he left their family, silencing Enn. She comforts him by putting her ring on a string for Enn to wear as a necklace, then kissing him. Meanwhile, Waldo and the rest enjoy a meal at a local diner. P.T. Wayne and P.T. Stella berate Waldo for allowing Zan to rebel, which seems to be already affecting the others. They warn him they have 24 hours to fix things before they exit and eat. P.T. Wayne suggests exiling Zan to force her to come running back. Zan and Enn meet up with John and Vic at a record store, but Vic gets uncomfortable upon seeing the girl. Later, the four head to a cafe where Zan writes the colony symbols on the table. John and Vic start asking her about America, but her answers are awkward and vague. Not wanting to answer such questions, she walks away and stands idly by. While she's out of earshot, Vic highlights how Zan isn't normal. John adds that Zan could be from a cult. Zan notices the boy staring at her and realizes that Waldo is possessing him. Waldo warns her that her actions are affecting her peers. He threatens to exit without her, leading Zan to raise her voice. The young men take Zan to an abandoned building where Boudica creates punk outfits. Enn offers this fanzine, which she throws to a pile of similar works. After Zan knocks over her mannequins, Boudica takes a closer look at her and becomes curious. Boudica tells the man to leave while she takes Zan away. That evening, the guys wait at the club. Backstage, Boudica puts makeup on Zan while telling her the history of the real Boudica, a Celtic queen who drove the Romans out of London. Boudica claims that she was the first punk. Zan asks her what punk is, and Boudica laments how she was one of the punk legends merely months ago, but they've all thrown her out after becoming sellouts. Boudica shrugs off the past and summarizes that punk is about smashing the oppressor and being an original. Zan mentions that every breath is an original is her group's motto, leading Boudica to think she's a singer. Boudica happily announces to the club that Zan will be a guest singer for the Discords. Zan shyly walks to the stage, noting that she doesn't know the songs, but Boudica tells her to make things up. Zan starts singing her colony's history, which the audience laughs at. Unbeknownst to her, a few colony members are watching. Zan starts to feel more confident, drawing the audience's attention, but Slap angrily mocks her, calling her a tourist. This angers Zan, so she starts ranting about not being a tourist. Enn pitches in, using her rants as a song which energizes their performance. Zan angrily sings how the parent-teachers treat them like babies, only to consume them. The audiences cheer for them as Zan and Enn start feeling alive on the stage. At the height of their performance, Enn and Zan find themselves inside one of the glowing orbs. Their emotions bring them into a surreal world where they continue to sing. In the strange world, the two kiss, and a glow enters Zan's body. They wake up back on the stage with the whole club staring at them quietly. Suddenly, Wayne Swain proudly reveals her deformed finger while screaming. This snaps the rest of the audience out of the trance and they cheer for Enn and Zan. The colony people start mingling with the crowd, while a woman like Stella takes an interest in Shirley. Meanwhile, Zan is happy and wonders how Enn knew what to sing. She mentions that the lyrics meant the end of their journey, and she explains that their colony will be exiting tomorrow, followed by the eating. Zan shares that the eating is when the parent-teachers eat the children to sustain their species. This worries Enn, so he leaves. He finds John at the bar and tells him that the cult plans a mass death. Meanwhile, Vic finds Shirley with the woman in an alley. While performing the same ritual that they did to him, Vic watches as another body morphs out of the other woman. Wayne Swain and the fourth colony member pull Zan away and compliment her singing. However, the parent-teachers arrive to stop the party. Waldo warns Zan that she'll be exiled, but she stresses that she feels alive. Enn pulls Waldo from her, but Zan screams for everyone to leave everyone alone. She then rushes back to the club and starts to go wild. The crowd cheers for her, but this leaves Enn disheartened. While kissing Slap, Zan vomits and starts to feel sick. She searches for Enn but is cornered by PT First. PT First looks into her eyes and congratulates her for bearing children. Enn returns home and throws away Zan's necklace. When he sleeps, he dreams about the symbol on the ring and the colony's house. He sees the parent-teachers quarreling about Zan's children. Meanwhile, the woman who got intimate with Shirley is devoured by her own creation. The others scream in fear upon witnessing this. Enn sees Zan amongst her colony asking for his help. In the morning, Enn wakes up and finds Zan's ring burning in his trash can. He sees that only a new green orb is left from the ring. Enn discusses the situation with his friends, who promise to help him save Zan. He goes to Boudica for backup, but she laughs at his claims that Zan is part of a cannibalistic cult. When Enn stresses that Zan looked up to her as a mother, Boudica starts to reconsider. At the house, Waldo warns Zan that being a parent is difficult, but she still wants to stay. He stresses that her children may not be safe to be born on this planet. He tells her that their people are producing fewer offspring, but her pregnancy is a sign that there is another way to continue their species. Waldo assures her that he has a plan, but they must play along with what the other parent-teachers intend to do. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. John and Shirley pretend to be inspectors and demand to check the house for asbestos. When they're refused, Shirley punches P.T. Wayne, and Boudica's punk audience raids the house. A group soon blocks them, but John easily defeats them and searches for Zan, but her colony blocks the door. Soon, the blue colony drives the others away, but Boudica fights back with stereos blaring punk music. Seeing the chaos outside, Vic hides in a room but meets the two Stellas that he was with on the first night. Meanwhile, PT Stella slowly approaches Boudica and turns off her radio. She then leans to kiss her, but Boudica laughs at her face. Boudica reveals she can't be tempted as she's given up on intimacy ages ago. She advises PT Stella to evolve or die, then invites her to drink. At the same time, Vic relinquishes his fears and kisses the Stellas he's with. PT First arrives to collect Zan in their room, but Waldo defends her. PT First claims that he will save them and calls upon the first colony. The fourth colony gathers around Zan to protect her, and continues to search for a way to get to Zan, and finds the Stella smoking with the punk group while PT Stella rants about her life to Boudica. PT Stella points Enn in Zan's direction, and he finally reunites with her. Suddenly, Waldo calls upon a general synod, and PT First has no choice but to accept. He releases a sound wave that knocks out all of the humans in the house. To everyone's surprise, the sound wave doesn't affect Enn, and Zan defends that he's different. With everyone gathered, Waldo proposes to eliminate the eating. The other parent-teachers argue that allowing the children to continue being nourished and procreate will lead to chaos. PT First recounts that they're all different species that once believed that they were all alone and therefore consumed all their world's resources. With their numbers dwindling, PT First claims that they can diminish with grace during the eating. The parents will consume the children and he will consume the parents, and thus he will be alone. He claims that the universe will be better for it, and calls it ridiculous. He defends that though they aren't doing their planet good, they're still alive and free. While being alive, they get to fix their parents' mistakes. He calls them worse than parents who abandon their children, because at least those parents don't eat their children. After his outburst, P.T. Wayne calls everyone to vote if they will proceed with the eating. The parent-teachers' votes end in a tie, but Waldo points out that Zan is pregnant, therefore she counts as a parent-teacher. Enn is confused about how Zan is pregnant, but she is sure that it's his. P.T. First agrees that Zan can be a parent-teacher but only after giving birth. To give birth, she must leave the planet, and if she does, she cannot return. Unable to choose, Zan runs away, and Enn chases after her. Soon, the sun goes down and it's time for the group to leave the house in preparation for the exit. Enn eventually finds Zan and comforts her. Zan cries, hoping not to leave the world. Enn asks her to stay, promising her that he'll be the father, but Zan stresses that their children may not survive being born there. If she doesn't leave, however, her siblings will die. To help her decide, Zan confirms that the 6 colonies are from different planets, representing different ideals. However, Enn shows that her ring has changed, creating a new colony that symbolizes love. Soon, the colonies stand at the edge of the building, ready to leave. They then leap off, and Zan senses them and follows, but Enn pulls her back to safety. Zan gives him the green orb and tells him she loves him before leaping off. When Enn looks back, Zan has disappeared and returned to her planet. Years later, fans gather for a book signing of Enn's comic book, Veer's Boy in the Colony. A group of young adults gathers and claims they will share one copy of his book. Enn notices them wearing the symbol of the 7th colony and realizes that they're his children with Zan. His children tell him that they want to stay and start a band. Enn cries as he reunites with a part of Zan.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.